All right. So here's what we're doing. So real quick, for anyone just watching this the first time, I am creating a happy hour directory called Haps. This will use LLMs to scrape venue websites for their happy hours and put them in a directory. Um, we are leaning on Aider. Really, the sort of overarching theme of this channel is going to be how much can we lean on AI to do coding for us. So a lot of what I'm doing is asking Aider to do work, and then sort of reviewing diffs and seeing how well it does. Yeah, that's sort of how I'm working. Just starting to stream, so it's still a little rough around the edges. The last task we asked it to I asked it to perform was this. We're working on this page. You can see it's location based. It's New Haven, Connecticut, kind of somewhat random city, for happy hours on Tuesday. And if I where am I? Over here. If I stash my changes, we'll see over here in our index. This is a Rails application. On our index, we were select happy hours. Where happy hours? Here we go. Happy hours. We were just selecting all happy hours. We weren't really doing any searching, whether by location or by day of the week. So I prompted Aider to really didn't give it a whole lot of context. This happy hour controller was the only file that I had added to Aider. So that's the only file it had in context. I'm using, I'm not using the repo map, so it really doesn't know anything about the project other than its Rails. But I've asked it to go find files, whatever files it needs, and add them into context. And so I'm still working out some of the mechanics of like how to do that best. But that's what happened. If we get stash pop, and let's review all the changes. So I did give it some specifics. I told it roughly what I wanted it to do. I told it that I want a new model to represent the search called the happy hour search, because I want to record the searches, so I know kind of what people are searching for, do analytics, things like that. So we'll see here that in our controller. So it took out the happy hour, just the sort of like dumb happy hour query there. Creates a new search. It does the includes, so we don't hit those n+1s on venue and happy hour times. Does all that in a single query. That's great. We see that though we don't actually provide any sorting on the front end yet, but it's still maintained that. Okay, that's great. So in the search itself, we see that it belongs to a location. Great. It's interesting. It takes a day as an attribute. Okay, and then validates the day. That's great. Results. So creates a scope, happy hour all. If the location's present, we're gonna do an inner join on venue locations. Okay, that's interesting. So it's doing, so for the location filtering, we're saying where the venue's location is in the location ID. Okay, that makes sense. One thing I need to come back to is we're using the ancestry gem to basically have a hierarchy of locations. New Haven, Connecticut, again, has multiple neighborhoods like downtown or East Rock. If we're searching for, basically, the behavior we want is that for any given location, we want all the venues in that location or child locations. So that may be why that might be why I'm not seeing any results right now, which I just checked actually in the UI. But we'll come back to this. So far, this makes sense based on the instructions it was given. And then that makes sense. It's interesting how it's doing this. So it is doing the right thing here. Happy hour times has booleans on the day, and so it's saying if the day is present, then filter by that day, and then it's calling distinct on that. Okay, that makes sense. The schema, so it created the schema. That looks right. It's gonna belong to a location, and it has a day parameter. Just something to maybe do in the future is it would be nice to capture like how many results were brought back just for analytics. Okay. In our neighborhood, in our location. So this is, I don't love how this is working. So I'm storing location again. Locations can have parents, can have children, and then we have multiple columns, like the neighborhood column. If something's considered a neighborhood, it has the neighborhood in the neighborhood column. If something's considered a city, it has the city name and the city column, and same for state. But sometimes I want to know that something's a city, so that's what these are for. Parent city. So it's just, I see. It's just really, it's interesting that it made this change. So it's really just memoizing these columns. It's interesting that it just decided to do that. It's a good change, but really doesn't have much to do with what we're doing. Unless it sees, we'll take a look. If it's calling these multiple times, that's a pretty solid change. It did create the migration. It's interesting that so I'm gonna have to change this migration because the timestamp's wrong, but it did generate a timestamp of it's interesting, 0303, so March 3rd. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, that's not bad. All right. Create the table, adds a foreign key. That's something I just added to the convention file. So I have this to-do markdown file where I described what it was supposed to do. It did check that off. That's pretty great. We added some fixtures for our tests. Yeah. Did a good job there. All of that looks pretty normal. And then let's look at the test. See how it wrote this. So it has a location, does a happy hour search on that location, and then asserts that, let's see, pluck, assert results all. Yeah, okay. So it's basically just saying that it's an interesting way to assert on that. So of all the venues in the location in which we searched for, do all the results fall within that set of venue IDs? And this test passes. So it's a good test. Yeah, I would probably write it a little bit different because we don't actually know. Like, this could be empty. Results could be empty. So we probably want to assert that we're actually getting results, and then that all the results fall in here. So maybe one extra assert there. Filters by day. So search for Monday. And then again, I think this could be empty here. We'll have to test that, because if we're not getting any results, then I think all will return true. And then search for location and day. Okay, so let's just improve that test, make sure it's passing for the right reasons. So this is the happy hour search test, I think. Let's write that, get rid of all that white space. Assert results any. Okay, great. So it seems to be doing the right thing. Let's just do that down here too. So let's check this in. There are a couple things that I want to prompt it to do. One thing I noticed is that there is an n+1 in the query. We can see if it's able to fix that, and then I think the next thing is that location tree bit that I mentioned. So this is adds happy hour search. Push that. Okay, and now if we go to so if we refresh that, so we are getting a ton of location queries for 26 and 27. Let's see what that is. Location.find 26 is Connecticut, and that's New Haven. Great. So, right, our problem is that we do have happy hours, but they're not associated with New Haven. They're associated with a New Haven neighborhood. So let's see what we have, what buffers we have in memory. Happy hours controller, happy hour search test. So I do want the search test to be in context. I do not want the controller to be in context. I want, let's get rid of all that white space. So, and then let's add location, and then we'll add location test. Okay, so if we open up Aider, and then let's give Aider some space here, not you. I'll hide you. And we'll say, so let's just look, we have happy hour search, we have the search test, we have the location, we have the location test. We are in architect mode with Aider, which I have not used before. So we'll see how this goes. Currently a happy hour search. Searches for venues that belong to a specific location. Locations, let's see, edit the code to make happy hour searches return any venues in the let's see, in the specified location or any of its child locations. Make any changes you need in happy hour search or location. Be mindful of n+1 queries. Write tests to confirm the behavior. See what happens. So I'm using 3.7 Sonnet here for both Architect and Editor. Again, first time I'm using Architect, so not sure what's going to happen. Let's see. Okay, let's modify the results. Okay, I'm not used to this view. Usually, I'm used to seeing like diffs coming out of it because again, this is Architect mode. Let's modify the test behavior. Okay, so this must be I forgot what it's called in Aider, but basically Aider has two different styles of returning changes to the editor. One is I think it's whole actually. So this must be whole, where it's basically saying replace whole sections versus diffs. Though I'm not seeing the whole file, so I'm really not sure. Helper add plus descendant IDs. Sure. Okay. Let's run the test. Okay, so no fixture found. Well, the fixtures weren't in context, to be fair. I don't want it to do that because I can probably fix this faster. Happy hour search test. So let's see, this is window mode. Happy hour search test. So this is going to be 1, venues 1, venue YAML. So let's call this bar 1. And then let's run the test again. And I probably should have done that in Aider, because if it fails, then I can automatically add it to context. Description for happy hour. So it didn't know. Description So that is just desk. Test. Okay, so, oops, now I have to be, so I just got my tmux config dialed in, and it's interesting that now when I try to navigate, it's talking to Aider, so I need to get in window mode, go over here, hide that. So let's run. Let's just let it do what it's gonna do. Yeah, let's see what it does here. Yeah, that looks right. So we expected results, did not get results. Let's see what it did. The test is failing because the happy hour created in the child location isn't being included in the search results. It is likely that the descendant's ID method isn't working as expected, or there is an issue with how the venue locations are being set up in the test. Let's fix the test by making sure venue location is properly set up and add some debugging to verify what's happening. Okay. So it's doing a lot of putzing. This is pretty much what a developer will do. Let's also check the results. That's funny. Let's let it do its thing. So it's going to make the changes. And then I noticed I'm in architect mode. Generally, it will prompt me to run the specific test. It hasn't been doing that. I'm not sure why. Okay, so okay, and then though we didn't get our puts, I think that's just because of how we're running the tests. Let's yeah, how do we expected that to include 6. How do I stop? So I forgot how to run this so that I can actually see these puts. It's not up there. Oh, you have skip test run verbose for details. Let's see if we can run. So let's run. Let's see. Copy command. How do we run? Run bin rails test models happy hour search test RB verbose. Let's try that. There we go. Parent location, is that? No, that's not actually what I wanted. Debug output. So if I search. Does that not give me? No. Oh, is it failing before it gets to the puts, maybe? Yeah, where is it failing on 57? Oh no, it's failing on 86. Ah, it's failing before it gets there. Okay. Okay, that makes sense. So is descendants. Let's see if it figures that out. It's not great feedback. Isn't being included in the search results. Okay. Self and descendants. Okay, great. Venue includes child. Yes. Okay. Still on 86. So still not getting there. Okay, it did prompt me not to no. Fix what's wrong. Edit the files. No. Test. Interesting. Why is it asking me to edit the files? All I want to do is add the output. Edit the files. Okay, what files are you going to edit? I'm running out of time. Got to go to work. So just going to try to ramble through this and see if we can just get it to fix what the problem is. If not, maybe I'll reset. No. Okay. So we're still on 86. This is still failing. Whoa. Interesting. We hit a rate limit. Okay. So 20,000 input tokens per minute. That's interesting that we hit that already. So how many tokens are we sending? That's interesting. So we're at 30,000 tokens in context right now, and we're only allowed to send 20,000 per minute, which means we can only prompt once a minute. That's not great. So let's reset. We have no history. I'm not sure about this architect mode. Maybe I just don't know how to use it that well. Not that. So descendant ID, parent location is a child. So I think let's quickly back up and say location and then add the location test. And what we want to say is that the, let's see, we're using happy hour search. Get rid of that white space. Self and descendants. So self and descendants. Self and descendants. Okay. Not you. Let's go back over here. Oh, interesting that location test is not in context. Let's pull that in. Okay. Write a test to confirm location, self, and self and descendants. Now what we want is the method self and descendant IDs, right? Yeah. Is actually returning the location and its children. And then we probably want location YAML. So uptown, downtown. Okay. Let's tell it. Oopsie, that's not what I wanted. No. Okay. Write a test to confirm location. Self and descendants is actually returning the location and its children. Oh, I see. I can't. I see why it's screwed up. I want to add fixtures too. So we'll say add test. Let's just. Let's window split location YAML. Okay, so did it add that? No. Okay, cool. So yeah, what was happening there was I was typing a prompt, but the way my NeoVim Aider plugin works is that when I add a buffer, it will actually just send a command to add the file to Aider. And since I was like in the middle of a prompt, it screwed up and actually like appended it to the end of what I had typed, and then submitted it, and then it sort of like kicked off this half-written prompt with the add in it. Anyway, now we're good. We have the location, we have the location fixtures and the location test. Let's type this again. Write a test to confirm location, self, and descendants is actually returning the location and its children. Add any needed location fixtures. Okay. Edit. So we're in it for $1 at this point. We've spent $1, given $1 to Anthropic. Probably money well spent. Okay, let's run the tests. Oh, interesting, it did the diff there. Looks like it's screwed up the testing syntax. No. Undefined pop for nil. Well, I'm not adding all that to context. So yeah, I've done this before. When it blows up, it really... See, look at how, like, there's something wrong in the fixture file, so every single test failed. And now I'm at almost 800,000 tokens in context. So that's not great. So going to have to reset. We'll have to pick this up a little later because I need to go to work. Anyway, thanks for watching. See ya.